Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here and for taking time to chat with me today. Um, I'm excited for you to share your story with everyone. I thought we'd kind of start off by talking a little bit about what your relationship with food was like before we worked together. And I guess I could give a little background. We worked obviously over 5 months together. We stopped. When did we finish the program? Like 2 months ago? Does that sound right? Time's gone really.
I miss you.
I know, I miss you too. Like time's gone really fast. I think it was about 2 months ago that we wrapped things up. But we worked together. We did the one-on-one program together. So let's just kind of start off by talking about why did you want to do this program in the first place? Why did you want to explore intuitive eating? What was your relationship with food like?
So I think just from a young age, I always had kind of a hot and cold relationship with food. I very much labeled food good food versus bad. And my relationship with food was really motivated by having a smaller body. So always dieting, always trying something to fit a different mold or the standard that I thought was considered of value. Um, so I would say within like the past 2 years, I was really in like a strict dieting and then a binging kind of cycle. And I was just getting very frustrated, very fed up. And I came across your page, I think on Instagram, and I completely stalked you. And I was like, all right, what is this about intuitive eating? What? I can eat what I want? That sounds great. Uh,
Sign me up.
you know, I continued to do the binging and dieting kind of cycle. I kept coming back to your page and I would see your TikToks and I was like, all right, this person kind of seems like cool and like she might be able to get through to me with a new mindset.
Thanks.
Out to you and we had our initial consultation and I have to say I was very like skeptical at first. I was like, because it's so different from what we hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we hear that you need to track your calories or you need to do this or that or this is good, this is bad. And I think one of the first things we did was eat what you want to eat. And I was like, what? Like, what's that going to do to me? But I think just going through the program and going through the motions and really identifying where everything was coming from and where my relationship with food was coming from was just so impactful and something I never would have done if I was on my own. I still would have been binging and dieting incessantly.
So what you mentioned that you were like kind of skeptical of it. Were
Mhm.
you skeptical that something would happen, something wouldn't happen? Like what were you kind of skeptical of?
Yeah, I think at that point I still had that. And I think it's still something that, always going to have to actively work against in a certain way because you can't just change your mindset overnight. It's a 5-month program. Like I've learned so many great tools, but I still am learning and I'm still practicing every single day. So I think I going in was like, well, I hope that I become smaller. I hope that like through this somehow this will happen. And I had that expectation. I was like, well, if I don't get smaller, like then what is this? But it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and that I think I was more naive. Like I didn't have all the tools in my toolbox and all the knowledge and all the empowerment that the program gave me prior to working with you.
Yeah. I think most people, myself included, kind of start exploring intuitive eating with that hope in the back of our mind that it will result in weight loss. And I think that's just kind of natural and normal because most of us are coming, probably all of us are coming from a background of dieting and wanting to shrink our body. So of course we find something new. We hope it's going to, kind of lead there or lead us there. And I think I always like, it's such a, I'm stumbling over my words. It's a tricky conversation to have around weight. Like, I think it's important to have, but we don't want to make it about weight.
Right.
So I'm always hesitant to kind of talk about the fact that like you could gain weight, lose weight, or stay the same, because I think when you've been in a diet mentality, you hear that and you're like, oh, I hope I'm the group of people that ends up losing weight, and that's not the case for everyone. And so without, you don't need to share what happened with your weight just to, not make things triggering for people one way or the other. But are there other things that you gained that have nothing to do with weight. I'm not saying you gained weight or you didn't gain weight. We'll leave that out of the question or out of the conversation, but are there other things that you gained?
Yeah, I mean, I'm already gonna cry. Like, you get me?
We cry a lot. We cried a lot. It's okay.
Just like the mental piece of it was huge for me. I was able to come off my anxiety medicine, which, like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just from actually eating and nourishing your body. Like, but with diet culture, we don't do that. But with intuitive eating and with you, I was able to learn how to do that.
God, I literally have goosebumps like going down my leg right now. I mean, that is, and I don't want to say like, some people do intuitive eating and might stay on their anxiety medications, but the fact that like you were able to get to a place where you felt so good by nourishing yourself consistently, and that you no longer needed that. I mean,
And that was just a huge gain for me. Yeah.
the fact that you feel
level and just, you know, we were talking my digestive system, like everything. There's so many other measures of health aside from your size. And I saw that change. And that was, I think, even more impactful than, you know, having a smaller body or being in a different pair of jeans, you know, like it's just,
totally.
it worked more ways than you ever could think, you know?
Yes, yes. And I always think it's ironic because doing this, in my opinion, tends to give you what you hope losing weight will give. And it's being more energized and being happier and feeling good and all of those things. And it's like we can still achieve those things in a way that's supportive of your mental and physical health without it having to be about weight loss.
Yeah.
You know, and when it is about weight loss, it often makes all of those things worse, as we've all experienced firsthand. I'm sure.
To dinner out with my friends and I actually feel like I'm in the moment and I'm with them and I'm enjoying them and I'm laughing with them and I'm not looking at my plate thinking I shouldn't eat all this and then downing the whole thing and having a stomach ache for 2 days, you know, like it's just, that change, those changes are so noticeable and so amazing to have in my life. And I don't know where I would be without you, honestly.
I mean, I love hearing that because to me, that is like, those are little moments that matter in your life. Forming memories with your friends, being present for all of those little memories, you know, because I guess without being present, you're not going to probably make the memory, but like it gives you back so much more than I think, like you just said, it gives you so much more than you kind of realize it will. So in like the day to day, you kind of mentioned before how you were in the cycle of dieting and then binging. How did it look kind of before to after, if we want to do like a before and after that's not a body, right? Like the behavior.
Yeah, I think before I was really, anything I ate, I would either feel instantly like good because it was a good food or instantly horrible, guilty, like I ruined everything, just throw in the towel kind of mindset. So I would have stretches of eating really well and eating really clean. And then I would have stretches of eating really bad and, you know, not feeling good in either state of eating, right? Because it was just too extreme. But now I'm able to go and have the cookie, or my coworker made pie the other day and I had it. I was like, this is amazing. Like, and I don't even think twice about it. And it's not like, oh, I had the pie, now I need to eat X, Y, and Z to make up for that. Like the guilt is completely gone. And it's just, oh, it's like a weight just gets lifted. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so awesome. What kind of pie was it?
It was bean pie. I've never had it before.
Like black bean?
No, white bean. And it was sweet because I thought it was going to be a savory kind of thing. And it tasted like a snickerdoodle in pie form.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Sweets person, but I was like, this is amazing. I didn't know this today, so.
And it's so nice too that you can just have something like that and move on without it because I don't think I'm sure people that are watching this might relate, but I'm not sure everyone has had that experience where it's not just in that moment that you feel a certain way. It is like all consuming. It's all day, every day, constantly.
To the moment you go to bed. Yeah.
Yep, all day long. And I know that's something that we kind of talked about a lot, was this idea of that diet culture teaches us that food and exercise, 50% and 50%, or some other combination of those two, is what makes up health, right? And we don't really consider this idea of stressing about our food is stress on the body, and what does that do to our health? You know, so has your idea of health shifted for you?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
What
don't
was it before?
before it was the certain body, you know, the certain look. Um, but now it's just like, are you happy? Do you do the things that you enjoy? Do you feel like just fulfilled and good in life? Like, I don't even think I have a measure of it anymore. I just like am in tune with it more so. You know, I have days where I'm like, well, something's a little off, like internally. You know, I'm not every day like, okay, how do I look? You know, how do I fit into my pants or whatever it may be. I think overall intuition, not to not to
Right.
use words, but it is like it kind of kicks in and you're like, all right, this is how I want to feel and this is what feels good and right for me. And I think for everybody it'll be different, like their definition of health, right?
Yes, yes. And like you said, it's just kind of natural. Like the process becomes natural. Like this is kind of what I need this day, and it's flexible and it flows and it's all good.
Totally. It's nice to have that, and just nice to have that internal validation and just passionate voice, whereas before that it was a very harsh critic up in here. So
Yes, yes. And you just said like the internal validation instead of the external validation. And of course, we all like to get a compliment and like to be told nice things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when we place all of our worth on our body and how the world perceives our body, we're bound to be disappointed because everyone's got different preferences. Everyone has different beliefs. Our bodies are always changing. So it's this constant state of just like anxiety and wobbliness. Whereas like when we can just tune in and find our own validation from within, I think that's where we kind of find that, that sturdiness in our worth, I guess.
it all gets like lifted and you're like, oh, this is what it is, you know, this is what it should feel like.
Yeah,
When you put all the diet culture and all the social media editing and all that horrible toxic stuff aside, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
exactly. But it is definitely hard to kind of like sift through all of that. Like I even find myself getting into these like black holes on like Twitter and stuff. I'm like, it's just, it sucks you in so quickly, and before you know it, you've spent half an hour on whatever. So definitely something to make sure we're all like filtering and taking time away from. Is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone listening that is maybe on the fence about intuitive eating or isn't quite sure, or just like any words of inspiration or anything you feel called to say?
I think like for me, this was just so life changing. Like once I got past the first few sessions and started to really get into the work, I was like, okay, this is going to make an impact. But I didn't realize how life changing it was, because it's focusing on your mindset and it's holding your mindset and kind of evaluating it in a lot of ways, seeing why you think a certain way, and then helping direct your thoughts into a new way of thinking. And that is irreplaceable. Like you're going to carry that with you no matter where you go. So I feel like that's why this is just so good and so effective, because you're really working on something internally, and Lauren is just the best person to work alongside with.
I mean, as we just kind of said before, Alexis and I would like cry. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but like we had a great time, and I am so proud of you for sticking with the 5 months. It's a long time to commit to something, and it's, as I'm sure you would attest to, not the easiest process, but there's probably,
We cried a lot. Yeah.
yes, we cried a lot. It's definitely an emotional thing, but hopefully it seems pretty evident that it was hopefully worth it. And it seems like you put so much into it, and it seems like you got a lot out. So I'm really proud of you for doing this work. It's not an easy process at all.
It is worth it. It's hard as you're doing it, but I think even months after, like I'm 2 months out now, and I'm like, oh my God, I just seeing it, it's great.
Yeah, gotta keep living it. Well, thank you so much for being open and for sharing your story. I'm kind of wishing you all the best, but I know that you and I will continue to talk after this soon. So I will chat with you soon. Thank you very much.
Hi, Lauren.
All right, bye.